Hello everyone and welcome to my The Bold Fans channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful BNB suggest that Sheila Carter, Kimberlyn Brown, might eventually be able to get revenge. Sheila might soon figure out a method to exact revenge on Steffy Forrester Finnegan, Jacqueline McInnes Wood, and cause her pain after what happened in Monaco. Every piece of evidence suggests that after their time together at work is complete, Steffy and Carter Walton, Lawrence St. Victor, conceal a passionate evening. Carter and Steffy might decide that they will never be honest with their wives about what transpired between them. Steffy might still divulge information to Taylor Hayes, Rebecca Budig, who might then divulge information to Deacon Sharp, Sean Cannon. Sheila might have some opportunities to listen in and discover a sensational secret. Naturally, it seems that Steffy will finally give in to saving her marriage to John Finn Finnegan, Tanner Novlin, but she will have some Sheila requirements. Finn might have to break off all communication with Sheila and make a sincere commitment to never talk to her again. When Sheila eventually returns to Finn's office to speak, he might immediately call security on her. Similarly, if Finn spots Sheila somewhere like Bikini Bar or Il Giardino, he might flee in the opposite direction. In this BNB plot, a restraining order might possibly be used at some point. In any case, as long as he is married to Steffy, Finn would undoubtedly force Sheila out of his life and abandon her out of fear. That might provide Sheila with two compelling reasons to exact revenge on her daughter-in-law. Sheila might make it her mission to exact retribution, but she might also want to hurt Steffy and destroy her marriage permanently. Sheila might aim to make Steffy seem like the adversary and take her off the pedestal that Finn has placed her on. Sheila could believe that if she succeeds, Finn would at last embrace her and rely on her for solace. Sheila might get the jolt she needs if she finds out Steffy cheated on Carter. Immediately following that inebriated journey home, Sheila might hurry to Finn with the news and reveal that Steffy had broken her marital vows. When the moment comes, you can guarantee that Steffy's removal of her rings in Monaco won't be sufficient to calm Finn's rage. Keep an eye out to see if Sheila will help reveal Steffy and Carter's secret, as spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful indicate that Finn's rage will eventually explode. Through the open windows of the Monaco cliffside property, the gentle Mediterranean breeze that had once promised romance now carried the acrid smell of treachery. With her wedding bands tightly gripped in one shaking palm, Steffy Forrester Finnegan stood barefoot on the cool marble. The gold felt heavier than it had ever been, as though all of the lies that had been told during the previous 48 hours had been absorbed into the metal. Despite the fact that her marriage had just fallen apart, the sea outside shimmered in the ruthless sun. She had come here with faith in second chances and the quiet strength of a man who had once deflected a gunshot intended for her. Finn had pledged to take them away from the chaos of Los Angeles and the darkness that had loomed over their life for years in order to mend and find each other for a week. Rather, the shadow had boarded the same aircraft, taken a seat next to him, and grinned with those cunning, familiar eyes. Carter Sheila. The name itself had an ash-like flavor. Steffy kept playing back the beach scene. When Finn saw the woman approaching them, her face turned pale. The rushed justifications. The insistence that he had told Sheila to go, that she was detained due to airline delays, and that he had intended to notify Steffy at the right time, had all fallen like little wounds. Once destroyed by bullets, hospital beds, and late-night altercations, trust took time to recover. It needed to be completely honest. Instead, Finn had opted for quiet. Without turning around, she had pushed the rings into his hand and turned to go. Tears and anger had blurred during the trip to the airport. Steffy's choice felt final by the time the aircraft took off for Los Angeles. She refused to live with a man who continued to stand up for the lady who had almost destroyed their relationship. The walls provided little solace back in the familiar pandemonium of the Forrester estate. The cautious concern of parents who have witnessed too many of their children's hearts destroyed loomed over brook and ridge. With a quiet ferocity, Taylor showed up prepared to fight any battle her daughter needed. However, none of them were able to fill the void left by certainty. More often than not, Steffy found herself reaching for a bottle of wine rather than her phone. Sleep arrived in jittery bits. Sheila's triumphant look on that beach and the small inclination of her head that indicated she had won something significant were what she saw when she closed her eyes. Carter Walton showed up at the door on one of those restless nights. Naturally, he had heard the rumors. Just as the fashion house operated on silk and ambition, Los Angeles thrived on gossip. With each missed meal and unanswered text, Carter's own marriage to Daphne had become more strained in recent months. He came with no intention other than to lend a sympathetic ear, the same dependable presence he had always provided for the Forrester family. The alternative was to spend another night by herself with her thoughts, so Steffy let him in. They spent hours conversing, concerning trust, regarding the significance of family legacies, about how, when someone like Sheila Carter chose to play her games, love might be easily twisted into something unrecognizable. The wine was flowing. The tone of the talk lightened. The gap between them closed somewhere between the third glass and the quiet confession that she didn't know who she was without Finn. What followed felt less like a decision and more like the unavoidable collision of two individuals who had been trying too hard to keep themselves together. The regret came with the sun in the morning. Steffy was already thinking about the repercussions as she perched on the side of the bed and gazed at the vacant area where Carter had slept. Finn would never get it. Their already precarious marriage would not endure this. She forced Carter to swear to keep quiet. His own shame was evident on his face as he nodded. They would bury the night, act as though it had never occurred, and concentrate on mending the ruins of their individual lives. But Sheila had never been one to ignore devastation. 2 days later, she was back in Los Angeles, the same deliberate serenity clinging to her like pricey perfume. She had not anticipated the outcome of the incident in Monaco. Finn's defense of Steffy had been constrained and ultimately inadequate, while Steffy's rage had been unbridled. However, Sheila had long since discovered that her greatest asset was patience. She didn't have to use one major move to ruin the marriage. She merely had to put pressure where it was already weakest. She made a delicate initial move. Finn made a well-planned presentation at the hospital where he worked, apologized gently for the commotion in Monaco, and quietly reminded everyone that anger alone could not break blood links. Finn listened with the weary caution of a man who was still drawn to a mother he had only recently come to know and was attempting to re-establish trust with his wife. Sheila smiled softly as she walked away from him, leaving him with the impression that she was genuinely attempting to change. She made a more accurate second move. This city was full with her eyes. A former nurse continues to work the hospital's night shifts. A bartender with face memory. A private detective who owes her favors from long ago. The pieces of Steffy's comeback were quickly put together. Carter Walton arrived at the estate late at night. The drapes were closed. The way Steffy had sidestepped some of her family's questions the next day. Sheila didn't require any pictures or videos. All she needed was confirmation of what her gut had already told her. Like a cozy secret, the knowledge sank into her. Sheila has never considered retaliation to be merely violent. The previous knife clashes and shootings had been rash, disorganized, and ultimately expensive. She would be surgical this time. She would keep the night with Carter a secret from Steffy. She would let Finn carry on with his last-ditch efforts to make amends. When the time was right, she would present the truth to him like a silk-wrapped gift. A week grew out of the days. Finn was desperate to win his wife back after returning from Monaco. He insisted that Sheila would no longer be a part of their life when he arrived at the mansion bearing flowers and well-chosen comments. Steffy listened warily, the memories of their evening together still too fresh, the mystery of Carter still simmering in her chest. She did not categorically reject him. All she asked for was some time. It's time to determine whether confidence can be restored. It was time to determine if the man in front of her was still her husband. Finn had no alternative but to accept the stipulations. He went back to his job. He avoided Sheila. Through every tiny gesture, he attempted to demonstrate that he was aware of the extent of the harm he had inflicted. Sheila silently took pleasure in seeing it all come to pass. She waited until Finn was by himself in his hospital office on a calm afternoon. There was a gentle knock, and the door opened. Uninvited, she walked in and carefully closed it behind her. Finn's shoulders tightened with a familiar strain as he looked up from his charts. He remarked, "I thought we agreed you would stay away." Sheila studied him with a twist of her head. "You deserve to know the truth, which is why I came." "Everything." He put down the pen. "What is the truth?" With a calm, almost gentle voice, she took a step closer. "Your spouse is not the victim she portrays herself to be. Steffy found solace elsewhere while you were still in Monaco, attempting to make sense of what had happened. Alongside Carter Walton." The words lingered between them. "In her own bed." As the implication set in, Finn's face became motionless as the color gradually faded. With a firm refusal, he shook his head once. "Are you lying?" "Am I?" Sheila had a narrow smile. "Ask her directly. When you speak his name, look into her eyes. Every time the topic of the nights after she left you comes up, notice how she shifts the conversation." "John, I have no motive to make things up." Finn sprang up so fast the chair scraped the floor. "I just want you to see her clearly before you destroy yourself trying to save a marriage she has already abandoned. Leave." Sheila remained motionless. "Your mother is me. I will not watch helplessly as she embarrasses you." She removed her rings. She took a solo flight home. She then grabbed another man. He moved in her direction as his rage finally overcame his amazement. "That is the woman you are pleading with to take you back. You will never again approach my family. Do you get what I'm saying? Not my spouse. Not my kids. Not me," Sheila said, maintaining eye contact with him for a considerable amount of time before lowering her head in what appeared to be acceptance. "As you like. But just because you don't want to face the truth doesn't make it go away." She walked away without saying anything else. Long after the door had closed, Finn was still standing in the middle of the office. His desk's charts became hazy. Felt like the fluorescent lights were too bright. Since her return, every chat he'd had with Steffy had taken on new significance. The prudent distance. He had stretched for her hand, and she had recoiled. The night she said she needed to be by herself. That night, he drove to the estate with an unwavering determination. Steffy greeted him in the living room, her face already guarded. Ridge and Brooke lingered close by until their daughter's glance silenced them. Finn remarked, "We need to talk." Steffy folded her arms across her chest. His voice was firm, but there was a hint of something deeper about it. "I already told you I need time. This is not about time." "Is that accurate?" she scowled. "Is that accurate? You and Carter." The color vanished from her cheeks so fast that Finn was aware of the response before she said it. There was a thick, condemning silence between them. Steffy parted her lips, then shut them again. Her words were harsh when she did find them. "How did you, Sheila?" The name struck like a blow. Steffy's eyes glowed with new anger. "Obviously." She would, of course. "Did that happen?" Finn tried to control his voice, but it raised. "Yes or no?" Steffy averted her gaze. When the confession did come, it was hardly audible above a whisper. "Yes." Finn's heart broke cleanly. Since Sheila's arrival, he had envisioned a dozen different situations. Denial, bewilderment, even a fervent argument that it had been meaningless. The straightforward, crushing reality of that one word had caught him off guard. He declared, "I came home prepared to fight for us. If it meant removing Sheila from my life entirely, I was willing to do it." Steffy's eyes brightened. "And the whole time you had already decided we were over." "It happened one evening. I was shattered. You had just defended the woman who had shot us both while standing on that beach. So you slept with Carter." "I made a mistake." Her voice broke. "I didn't know who you were anymore. A horrible, foolish error. However, you also maintained secrets. On that plane, you let her sit next to you and remained silent." Finn shook his head slowly. You prioritized her comfort over my safety. I never picked her above you. I was attempting to safeguard our possessions. The instant you put another man in our bed, you ruined it. The ensuing argument was brutal and unpleasant, leaving lasting wounds. There were accusations flying both ways. Reopened were old wounds. They formed new ones. Both sides thought that the choice was final by the time Finn left the estate. With Sheila's retaliation weighing heavily on her, Steffy stood at the doorway and watched as his car vanished down the drive. Within an hour, Sheila found out about the altercation. With the serene satisfaction of a strategist whose strategy had come to fruition, she accepted the news. She hadn't had to fire a single shot. She didn't have to speak louder. She had just positioned the truth where it would cause the greatest harm and watched from a distance as it collapsed. The consequences permeated every aspect of their interconnected lives in the days that followed. Carter had to deal with the silent rage of a family that had trusted him in the past. Already aloof, Daphne submitted her separation request with clinical effectiveness. Finn was so focused on his work that he barely had time for anything else. Steffy withdrew into her parents' and sisters' protective circle, her once manageable secret now radioactively exposed. As promised, Sheila stayed far away. She didn't try to reach Finn again. She didn't show up at the mansion or the hospital. She merely existed on the periphery of their universe, serving as a reminder that patience and accuracy, rather than force, can win some conflicts. Sheila poured herself a glass of wine and gave herself a rare opportunity for introspection late one evening while she was by herself in the peace of her apartment. Her most dependable friend had always been revenge. It had taken on names, transported her through prison cells, and given her near-death experiences. It had been more refined and clean this time. The marriage had been broken by Steffy. It had been Finn who had left. All Sheila had given them was the mirror, which made them each confront their new selves. To the empty room, she raised the glass in a silent toast. The city lights outside gleamed with the same apathy that the Mediterranean Sea had displayed in Monaco. Lives went on. Hearts shattered. The next phase of the protracted, acrimonious conflict between Sheila Carter and the lady who had attempted to separate her from her kid was already starting to take shape somewhere in the distance. The long-running conflict between Sheila Carter and Steffy Forrester is about to enter a new, explosive chapter, according to spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful. This time, Sheila might determine that it is no longer sufficient to just argue with Steffy over Finn and Hayes. She may target the one thing that is most important to their marriage: trust, if she really wants to ruin Steffy's position in Finn's life. Finn and Steffy are already headed for a significant confrontation over Sheila in recent B&B stories. Steffy is still very wary of Sheila because of everything she has done to their family, but Finn has been more open to accepting his biological mother's efforts to reform. According to recent leaks, Finn and Steffy are at a turning point because of Sheila, and Finn expresses his affections for his mother. That disagreement might provide Sheila with the ideal opportunity. Sheila has known for years that the largest barrier between her and Finn is Steffy. Steffy has stated time and time again that she does not trust Sheila around her family, despite Sheila's desire for a relationship with her son. According to Steffy, the worry makes sense. Sheila has a history of acting dangerously, including assaulting Finn and Steffy. Sheila says she has changed, but their past has left emotional wounds that will never go away. Sheila, however, might have a totally different perspective. She might think that Finn has been under Steffy's sway for too long and that questioning his wife is the only way to win Finn over. That's where a possible controversy involving cheating might arise. The most risky aspect of Sheila's retaliation might not even include an affair. Alternatively, she might unearth facts, tamper with evidence, or divulge a secret from Steffy's background, leading Finn to assume that his wife has deceived him. Sometimes the suspicion of betrayal can be just as damaging as the actual betrayal in the world of The Bold and the Beautiful. Imagine Sheila coming up to Finn with something Steffy really wanted to keep a secret. Finn might not listen at first. He is aware of Sheila's agenda, after all. Anything she says may instantly be seen by him as another attempt to ruin his marriage. However, Sheila wouldn't always divulge everything at once. She could gently reveal bits of information so Finn might figure out what seems to be a much larger secret on his own. That would increase the risk of the scenario. Sheila would comprehend that Finn must think he is discovering the truth on his own if she is seeking retribution. She can't just tell him, "Steffy cheated on you," and expect him to accept it. Finn would doubt her intentions right away. Alternatively, Sheila may present a picture, a message, a questionable discussion, or any other piece of evidence that seems to support her claims. Finn would find himself caught between his growing doubts and his love for Steffy. For Steffy, that would be a nightmare. Ironically, Finn and Steffy have already overcome great obstacles. They have previously experienced separation, threats, family disputes, secrets, and Sheila's attempts to meddle in their affairs. Steffy has consistently been Finn's first choice, and their relationship continues to be one of the most important aspects of his life. Sheila could understand, though, that there are other ways to harm children besides physical risk. Instead, she might target their emotional base. Finn's trust would be directly damaged by an accusation of cheating. If Finn thought there was proof against Steffy, the harm could be severe even if she were totally innocent.